First ever office hours here with SimpleGrowth. It looks like Dylan has taken over the main screen and I am hanging down at the bottom here. Let's see if we can even this up a little bit. There we go. Sorry about the delay. We were trying to start about 15-20 minutes ago, but had some technical difficulties getting in here. But happy to announce we're going to be doing a weekly, at least once, if not twice a week, open office hours. And myself, Dylan, and other people from the SimpleGrowth team are going to be coming in live and answering your questions around service autopilot, around job costing, workflow, automations, other things in there. And we're going to actually open up the screen and show you how a lot of these things are done. As we continue to evolve in some other CRMs, such as Copilot, these will also open up to your questions around the different CRMs we're working with. But right now, this will be a Facebook Live that we're doing at least once or twice a week, pre-announced, and we're going to be putting in a set schedule. But if you just join us, we had some technical difficulties here, so it's going to be an abbreviated version today. But rolling into the holiday weekend, Dylan, I can't think of anything better that I would want to do is hang out with some business owners, answer some questions, and build some clarity going into the holiday weekend. So if you're just joining us and you haven't pre-submitted any of your service autopilot questions, drop them in the comments. And Dylan and I are going to answer them live. And if we don't get to them live in this one, like I said, once or twice a week, we'll be doing live office hours at no cost for the users of Service Autopilot, and eventually some of the other CRMs that we work with. So, Dylan, I know you had a couple pre-submitted questions off the Service Autopilot Facebook group. If you want, I can show your screen here, it looks like, and we'll see what happens here. So it looks like we got 5 or 6 people piling in here, even the late notice. So welcome to the first office hour here that we're going to be rocking and rolling with. And I think we got some new screen options here, Dylan. So this might actually,
oh wow, we might be able to make it big.
Let's not get crazy, but maybe. It's questionable. Hold on. What do we got going on here? Well, that's better.
A little better.
All right, let's see if I hide myself and bring myself back. This might work.
There we go. Wow.
Hold on. All right, the kids are back and the screen. What could be going right? This is good. We're good. This is as close as we ever had on a screen share. So I want to thank a couple more people piling in here. SimpleGrowth office hours. If you put your comments in the chat, we will answer them live here. Dylan has some pre-submitted questions. So Dylan, I'll let you take the wheel and let's go.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, the first one, longtime friend of the show, Steve Delaney, had a good question. And
Sevi.
What's that?
He also goes by Sevi.
Sevi.
I forgot how to spell his name. So that's what printed out on the name tag.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was a good question. So Steve said, I want to know how to create or where to find a report that tells me how long a client has been with us. I have one that he has a report that shows if they cancel how long they were with us, but he wants to know specifically if they are with us, what is the average time that they have been with us? So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, I took a stab at it. I don't think this is a pre-built report in SA. Like, I don't think that report exists. So I just started kind of playing with some of the formulas in the report center here.
So to be clear, Dylan, you're going into the third-party bolt on the reporting center. You don't need to go in there, but under reports, and then you are building out an analysis. Unlike the toaster oven off on the left, we're going over to the little guy with a square and the plus, create analysis. And this is where we're going to access those data tables inside Service Autopilot. So I will let you roll there. I just want to put some clarity to that because a lot of people have no idea this even exists.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, this was a little bit of trial and error, but it ended up, I think it's worth the 15-20 minutes that it took, because I think this could be a valuable report for quite a few people. So yeah, it's called Steve Test for now. Was thinking about going into Steve's file and just building it right in there for him, but figured this might be better. So first things first is I just used like the client's detailed section here, and I just brought in the least amount of information that I thought might be applicable. So client name, client since date, and then the termination date. Didn't really end up using that, but not a huge deal. And then I just pressed OK down here, and it brought in quite a bit of data. This is kind of like our demo account. So I just filtered out everybody who's not didn't have Callahan in the name. So we're just looking at Mike in here. So we just got basically two examples. We got client name Mike Callahan, client since date is looks like, I don't know what kind of format that's in. Maybe it's November 6th, 2016 or June 11th,
Yeah, we can
2016.
change the formatting, but yeah, that's perfect. So apparently, the service is halfway decent. I've been around since 2016, and the other me was around 2018. So that's pretty sick.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So the next thing, and this is where I took most of my time, and if someone's like already has this formula, I would have taken them 2 seconds. But some of these formulas in here can get pretty complex. I guess you can't see it on the screen here, but if I click into this little formula section, there's some very complex formulas there, at least in my opinion. Um, so the one that I ended up choosing that I think solves what Steve was hoping for is there's a formula called date diff. And I know you can't see me clicking in here, but if you go to the date diff formula and you just kind of hover over it, and we'll give it a second on my screen, it says computes the difference between two dates. So I'm like, I think that's kind of what Steve wanted. I'm pretty sure. So I put in, and honestly, I had to click into this formula help thing here to just kind of see what were the variables that it's actually requesting for with a couple attempts at trial and error. So D equals days. And here is the basically the column that we're referencing. So this is the client's since date. And then this last part here just basically compares it to today's date. So this will be a rolling number. So that's how I got the number of days in here. Now, Steve might be looking for number of months or number of years or something like that, but this is kind of the first iteration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it looks really good, Dylan. I'm glad you talked about the formula and the formula help. This product is actually called Logi, Logi. It's a third-party bolt-on. So the first couple of years of this, Service Autopilot did not have the formula help or the availability of some of these formulas that they've just added. So if there's a formula you're looking at and it's not there, if you look up Logi, Logi, into their help desk, a lot of the additional stuff that's not visible in SA will be visible to you from their help site. And you can copy and paste some of that stuff over or kind of iterate it off like Dylan did, basis days or years with the operator. So it makes complete sense, Dylan. Awesome work on this one.
Yeah, so I titled the column days as clients. It was the first thing that came to my mind. Maybe Steve, you might call it something else. But you'll basically be able to just, if you want, I can actually even just kind of send this over to you after. But if you copy this formula exactly, you'll arrive at this. And then this would be optional, but I clicked on the column header here and I did aggregate and then I did average. I figured that would probably be at least one of the numbers that you're looking for here is the clients that are still with us. What is the average number of days that they've been with us?
Huge.
So in order to do that, you might need to filter out the clients that have a termination date. So if you only want to look at the clients that are still active, any client with a termination date needs to be filtered out. And maybe you want to have two analyses. One with clients with no termination date, so active clients, and then a different one for clients that have actually canceled. What's like that final
Dylan has froze here, so we'll give him a minute to get back. But hopefully that makes sense. What Sebi or Steve is looking for there. The other thing too is you're looking at it.
question exactly?
Oh, yeah, you froze up there for a minute, so I was just talking there. But yeah, the other thing that we may need to be aware of is when you update those, we do not want to go in and add them. We want to be able to hit that replace button and update it. So if it's an update to the current existing formula, that will lock up your report center in ways that SA cannot even untangle it. So kind of a pro tip there.
Yeah. And you can hear me okay now?
Yep, you're good. Yeah, well,
Okay.
you're coming from what, Ottawa, is it?
Ottawa, yeah.
I'm down in New York, so yeah, a little long distance over the internet here. It's all right.
Yeah, but no, that is a good point. Like when I was doing my trial and error, I was clicking right here with my mouse, and then I was editing the formula here, and I wasn't adding it. I was just replacing it. Um, and I mean, it's such a simple report that even if you did lock it up, it wouldn't be the end of the world to rebuild. But yeah, that's a good point. You want to try to minimize having to start from scratch because a report is totally locked up.
Awesome. So Sevi, we will send you the code here, and you're going to owe me a Corona at the poolside cabana at the Masterminds event in Nashville. So in lieu of a beer, we'll send you that over for you. And Dylan, you got any other questions that were submitted? I'm looking right now on my
I
phone. It
do.
doesn't look like there's any other in the live chat, but I think you got a few more.
Yeah, I do have one other one, and Mike, I just sent you the formula. I don't know if you want to put that in the chat,
Yeah,
but if you do, you can.
I'll message it right over to Sevi.
Okay. So yeah, the other question. It looks like Leslie is going to get us a expert level report question for next week, which should be interesting.
All right, love it.
But PJ Post had a pretty good question here. So he said, what is a good workflow for employees to know how much material they will need for a job? Mulch is easy for him because he separates the actual installation of the mulch in a template and he budgets 1 hour per yard. So we know the material amount to purchase based on the budgeted hours produced in the matrix. But for a service that one budgeted hour doesn't coincide with a certain unit amount, is there a easy way to figure this out? Of course, I can do the math each time and communicate that in job notes, but I was hoping to find something better. So there definitely is a better way, 100%. Really, you shouldn't, in a perfect world, you should not really be basing the quantity of how much mulch you need, even in that kind of simplistic example, based on the amount of budgeted hours. Yes, I agree with separating out the labor and the product, 100%. But really, you should be telling your crews how much of a quantity of a product that they need to bring by the quantity of product that's associated with the job. So that might sound super, super basic, but it is a common error that people make with service autopilot, where the products that are getting, hopefully you're using products. Some people don't even use products, but when they do use products, sometimes the quantity or the amount of the actual product from the estimate that gets transferred over to the job doesn't actually correlate with anything. So I see sometimes people will calculate, for example, mulch based off of mulch bed square feet. Well, that's great, but the unit of measure that that will use is square footage. So I don't know about you, Mike, but if I told my guys, hey, you need 875 square feet worth of mulch, that could be potentially a little bit disastrous.
I'm just a simple man that mows lawns over here. I don't have that many fingers to do the math. That would probably, that would definitely be an issue for me.
But, X amount of yards, they can go and pick that up, or whatever that is. So, PJ, what I would recommend, without going too deep into the weeds, is how they should be figuring out how much product they need. And I took a couple of screenshots from the mobile app. On the legacy version of the app, it's not the greatest. They do need to basically click into the job, and I'll kind of highlight it right here. This would be like a 10-yard mulch example. And in our demo account here, brown mulch doesn't have the word yard in it, which it should. But you would see a yard of brown mulch or brown mulch with yard in brackets, and then a quantity of 10. But in the legacy app, they actually do need to click into the job. So if you got like 5 mulch jobs for the day, they would need to basically click into each one, I believe, to view the quantity. On the team app, it's actually a little bit better. And I personally didn't use the team app that much, but in this specific scenario, and I'm curious to hear your opinion, Mike, once I show this, but I do think it's a little bit of a simpler workflow. So I took a couple screenshots from the team app, and this is just like that single mulch job with 10 yards. Well, in the team app, you click menu up here on the top left, and then there is a load list right here. And that leads into as you would expect, a load list with the products that we're going to actually need for the day. So if you got 10 mulch jobs, rather than having to click into 10 specific jobs, if you do use the team app, you can hit this load list and see all the products that you need for the day, whether that's loading up at your shop or driving to a mulch yard and picking up the correct quantity and correct color of mulch.
Awesome explanation there, Dylan. So I'll be honest, I'm kind of on the fence in this one. I've got a really good relationship with Tara over at SA, the head of product, and Tara has been very candid and honest about the roadmap and publicly talking to everyone. She's even gone out and worked in a lot of our clients' offices, knee to knee with them to understand the workflow and how people are using SA. So at the current time, I do like that option, Dylan. There's a couple major things that SA, I do believe from what Tara is telling me, I can't guarantee it, but from what I'm hearing from SA is there going to be some additional advancements to the new app there, not the legacy app. One of the fallbacks right now is your V2 forms are not available there. That's something that they're actually going to probably be working on to actually make those available. So with that, a few of the other little minor tweaks, that at that point, I think my recommendation is go to the new app. But depending on whether you're an estimator or a crew leader, there may be some pros and cons of both. So it's kind of explore the options. But if you've got a design, build, or install crew that's strictly doing a lot of material stuff, this would probably be the app I'd have that team use based on this functionality you're showing us.
Yeah, 100%. The only way that I'm aware of in the legacy app that I think the majority of users are still using is you can view job notes for the day in bulk. So, like, if you wanted to just kind of keep everything status quo, PJ, there is a scenario where actually putting the quantity of product in the job notes might honestly be the cleanest workflow for you right now. Because before, at least I instructed my guys before they left in the morning, hit view all job notes on the mobile app. And if it says, oh, you need an aerator at this specific property for the day, like that was their cue to actually load that up in the morning if it was in a regular piece of equipment that they needed. So if you are kind of dead set on continuing to use the legacy app until all of V3 is out and you're happy with it, then I would probably recommend just keeping things in the job notes. If you have started to dabble with V3 and the team app, then I say go for it and just try to make sure that the unit of measurement that you're using in the products on the estimating template is going to be the unit of measurements that actually makes sense to the guys in the field. 873 as a quantity for mulch, they're going to still have to do some division there and say, well, how many feet can a yard cover? And then they got to call the mulch yard and say, hey, do you have 5.39 yards of mulch? That's not a super clean workflow. I'd prefer for the estimator or the owner to do that math when they're doing the estimate so that the crew just has a simple number here, such as 10 yards of mulch.
And what a pro trick when we do these essay setups or deep dives, if you're using an industry standard of a budgeted hour per yard, the budgeted hours can be your cheat sheet of how many full yards you need for the job. So you take the budgeted hours and just transfer that 5 hours of budgeted time into the product, and that would be 5 yards of black mulch or brown mulch, whatever that is. So there are some ways that when we dive in a little bit deeper with these deep dives or essay setups that we'll put a standardized workflow to some of these things if it's available based on some of the standards and averages we have. Dylan, can't thank you enough for coming on today and just crushing it out for the last 20 minutes. Obviously, we had some technical difficulties, but we're going to be announcing here shortly next week, at least once or twice set times each week where you can pre-submit your questions or live like Leslie did, where we're going to dive in and answer your questions, and no need to wait on chat or phone for support. If you want actual live workflow industry expert approach for guys and girls that have done this in the field, I think we're up to 9 or 10 full-time people now on the team, Dylan, that have all owned 7-figure businesses, past, current, or past SimpleGrowth clients that have sold their businesses now on the team. So not only do we get SA, but we get how it works in your business on a day-to-day basis. And we understand how you probably should be using it or how you do use it and how we can make it work for you. So Dylan, can't thank you enough. Any closing thoughts here on SimpleGrowth's office hours for the first time in 2023?
Yeah, submit some questions. I think Leslie's going to have a tough one for us next week. So whether it's simple or expert level, we'll try our best to answer them.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Leslie, quite the power user herself. So we'll see if we can tackle that one head on. Well, everybody out there, have a great holiday weekend coming up here in the States. And Dylan, you enjoy your non-holiday Monday off in Canada. And we'll see you guys again next week here at our set hours that we're going to be announcing in the SimpleGrowth page and the SA users Facebook group. So we'll see you again, SimpleGrowth office hours 2023. Dylan, Mike, and the SimpleGrowth team coming at you. Dylan, thanks a lot, brother. Have a good weekend.